Well, welcome everyone. My name is Whitney Callio. I am a principal planner at Oakland County in the Economic Development Department in the Planning Division. Today we're here to talk about our materials management plan, the process we're going through, and give you an overview of what that is. We have a few housekeeping items first. The meeting is being recorded and will be available at oakgov.com soon after the meeting. Your audio and video are muted. We'd ask that if you have a question, you use the chat feature to put that question in, please. We'll have a moderated Q&A session at the end of the presentation. And closed captioning is available if you enable your closed captioning on your toolbar. I'd like to just start off talking a little bit about Oakland County. So here we are. As you probably know, we're about 20 miles northwest of Detroit. We have 910 square miles. The population is just over 1.27 million. We do have more than 1,400 lakes within the county. 57% of Fortune 500 companies do business within the county. We're the headwaters of 5 river systems. We have 27 Main Street districts. We have 60,000 acres of public parklands, 2 national water trails, 2 cross-state trails, and nearly 145 miles of regional trails. We also have 62 municipalities, cities, villages, and townships within the county. So you might be asking yourself what materials management is. It's kind of a newer term, but basically materials management is the effort of making your recycle bin bigger than your garbage can. It's a systemic approach using and reusing materials productively over their entire life cycles. We hope to determine the highest and best utilization of materials, which would help to reduce environmental impacts, identify alternatives to landfilling, which will then preserve our landfill space for future years. Materials management also contributes to a circular economy. So for the circular economy, that's a model of production and consumption where you are reusing, recycling, repairing, refurbishing, using those materials over and over again throughout the cycle to their best and highest potential, as opposed to just landfilling materials. We've been somewhat in a linear economy where we're taking resources to make materials, use those materials, and then waste those materials. So really the circular economy just keeps those materials in circulation for a longer period of time, creating less waste to be landfilled. This is a materials management hierarchy from the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy. As you can see at the top, our preferred method is reduce. Let's not create waste to begin with. Then to reuse the materials over and over again, to repurpose them or upcycle them into new uses, then to recycle them, recover them for energy production, and then our last resort, least preferred, is to landfill the materials. So why we are preparing a materials management plan at this time? There were updates to Michigan's solid waste law in March of 2023. That is Public Act 451. So the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy Director initiated the process for each county in Michigan, all 83 counties, to create a new materials management plan under those updates to that law. These plans will replace our solid waste plans, which each county currently has. Oakland County's plan was written in the late 1990s and approved in the early 2000s, so we're certainly due for an update on that. And the solid waste plans focused on ensuring that each county had enough landfill disposal capacity to manage all of the waste it generates. So with the new materials management plan, as opposed to just looking at landfill capacity, we're really trying to utilize materials and have capacity and outlets to manage materials as opposed to just landfilling. One thing about the materials management plan process is that it will require that we have 67% approval from the municipalities within the county. So as I mentioned earlier, we have over 60. So we really want to have the municipalities following us along the way and providing input into what is going into the plan so that it's something that works for everyone. This is a map of Oakland County and the different types, excuse me, of waste hauler systems that are in place. The county is not involved in the waste pickup for any of the municipalities. At the top in the brownish color, you see those communities don't have a community contract, so the residents subscribe individually for their waste hauling and curbside recycling if that's offered. There are a few of those communities that license waste haulers, so they might have a handful that the residents can choose from. The tan color are those communities that have a single waste hauler through the community, and usually those include curbside recycling, yard waste, and garbage pickup. Not always, but most of them do. The green color at the bottom signifies the communities that are part of RASAC, which is a solid waste authority. And then the blue is SACRA, which is also a solid waste authority. So those are intergovernmental authorities that oversee all of the waste-related activities within those counties. I'm sorry, within those communities. This is a map of the main waste haulers operating within the county. There are certainly other ones. This is not a comprehensive list. But you can see there are a handful that manage many of the communities within the county. Okay, now we're going to move on to an interactive poll. So not counting deposit bottles and cans, how often do you recycle? Okay, it looks like they're coming in.
It looks like about 86% say all the time.
We love it. All right, thank you for that. All right, there we go. This is a chart, estimated time for items to break down in a landfill. So I'm not going to go through all of those, but you can see some of them are extremely long periods of time. And we do have a question. I know it will be hard to answer here, but by weight, what is the largest waste item in American landfills? I'm just going to show you. The answer is actually food. So a lot of people think, oh, the food will decompose in the landfill, excuse me, but it does end up creating methane, which is a greenhouse gas. But yes, by weight, that's the largest item in American landfills. And then by volume, what is the largest waste item in American landfills? And the answer to that one is paper. So anyway, these are just some interesting facts, and we will be adding this presentation to our website later on if you are interested in looking back at these points. This is a picture of a material recovery facility. We often hear, oh, things don't really get recycled that you put out for the recycling truck to pick up anyway. Well, this is a picture of a facility. This is located in the county. On the left side, you can see that's the big bay where the trucks empty the loads of recyclables. They go through a series of sorting mechanisms. You can see there are actually people there that are picking certain things off the lines. Quite often things that don't belong, plastic bags, hoses, things that will tangle up the machinery. But there are conveyor belts that sort, there are magnets, optic sorters, just different sorts of mechanisms to sort out the materials. And then at the far side, you can see those are plastic bales ready to be sold to the market to produce new products. So my colleagues and I recently participated in a recycling audit. So in this, the organizers had the trucks dump the loads from certain neighborhoods, so they were able to pinpoint the neighborhood that these loads came from. We sorted the materials into 33 different types. So that's what you can see in that second picture. And then the third picture is the cleaned material that was sorted out. And then the final picture is the treasure table where there were all sorts of oddities that were collected during this audit. You can see there's a mannequin head there. We had boots, clothing, quite a lot of different interesting things in the recycle piles. I think one big takeaway from this is that there is a lot of education that needs to happen still. There were full bags of garbage. Sometimes there were yard waste bags. There were dirty diapers, a lot of food waste. So it's a good opportunity for more education. Some of the tips that we gathered from doing this waste sort is to continue to make sure that you break down the cardboard boxes so they're just not taking up as much space. And don't wish cycle, which is putting things in that you're hoping can be recycled, but you don't really know if they will be or not. To rinse your containers so they're relatively clean, and know the materials that are recycled in your area. It's not always the same for every hauler. So to really try to figure out exactly what is recyclable through your program. And again, yes, they're really being recycled unless it's a really contaminated load. We were at a different material recovery facility a couple years ago, and they mentioned that they had received a load that day that was full of raw meat. So then that just contaminated a lot of the materials that were also in that load, unfortunately. I mentioned the plastic bags messing up the machinery, so do not put plastic bags in your recycle bins. And then don't nest your recyclables either. Just leave them loose in your cart or your bin. Okay, we have another poll. We'd like to know a material that you wish was easier to recycle. Looks like they're starting to come in.
We'll give it just another moment. Okay. Looks like styrofoam, plastic bags, plastics, all very, very good answers there. Yep.
Yep. All right, thank you for participating in that. Okay, we also were able to recently visit a compost facility also located within the county. So on the left, you can see those are the bags of yard waste often picked up at the curb. Those are placed into big windrow piles, which are long rows of material where they break down. The center picture is a compost turner. So it's really going and aerating that pile and turning all of the material. You can see the steam coming out as it generates a lot of heat, which is how it breaks it all down in those piles. And then the far side is the material going through a screener, which creates the finished product, which is then given to many uses. A lot of times communities might have compost available for free or reduced rates, so check with your community about that. A couple of tips that we learned were please be sure that all litter and garbage is removed from the yard waste. A lot of times I think there's plastics. It just makes it more difficult for it to be screened and cleaned and broken down throughout the process. Some paper plates you might think are compostable, but a lot contain microplastics to make them more water resistant. So beware of that those should not go in any compost yard waste bags. And then we're hearing that there are a lot of compostable products or products that are labeled as compostable products. But the compost operator that we were visiting, they said that they believe that the BPI certification is what you should really look for as it goes through a different process to be able to be certified compostable by that BPI. So next I'm going to turn this over for a few minutes to Caitlin Wooters from Resource Recycling Systems, also known as RRS. They're a consulting firm that we've been working with on the development of the plan. And we started to gather data of where we are as far as landfilling and recycling in the county. So Caitlin is going to present that information.
Thanks, Whitney. Good morning, everyone. So as we discussed, this new materials management plan is really looking at how we can divert more material from landfill. Whereas the previous solid waste plans were just ensuring that we had enough capacity for landfill. So with this new shift, this focus on getting more material out of the landfill, the first step is to look at what are we throwing away. One of the first pieces of data that we have to give us some insights there is an annual landfill report from the state that captures everything that was landfilled in a Michigan landfill, which county generated that material, and it classifies the material into broad categories that we see here in this pie chart. So looking at the past year, Oakland County generated about 1.4 million tons of landfill material. It's quite high, but as Whitney, set the stage for us, we have a lot of people living here, right? Big population. Um, what's great, I guess, well, I'll tell you about these categories a little bit too. Um, Municipal and commercial waste, that 71% portion in the bottom, that is our household trash. Um, Trash from businesses, trash from residents, everything that was landfilled that we generate in that space. The other categories are one is called other waste, so that's kind of stuff that doesn't fit into these categories, but it could be asbestos waste, contaminated soil, some radioactive stuff. Like it's got its own category. There's construction and demolition waste, which clearly comes from construction and demolition, but that includes scrap wood, treated wood, all types of wood, sometimes some asbestos waste in there too. Industrial waste comes from industrial activity, so it can include like ashes, auto shredder residue, foundry sand, industrial wastes and sludges, that type of material. And then there's the last category that Oakland County did not produce much of in the last year, but it's called alternative daily cover. It's used by the landfills for that purpose, and it could be like chipped tires, coal or wood ash, some other approved materials like that. What's great to take away here is what we highlighted is that the largest portion of what Oakland County is creating is municipal and commercial, so that residential and that business waste that we have an opportunity to impact with this plan. It's a good portion we can divert. So the next question is what exactly is in that municipal and commercial waste? This one's a little bit trickier to pin down. So Whitney showed you some slides of a recycling audit where she and some others sorted out all of the materials coming in on recycling trucks. The same work is done with materials that come into landfill. So RRS used these landfill sort studies, they're called waste audits, compiled a bunch of them from Michigan and other surrounding states, and we looked at 58 categories of material from those. So looking at what is landfilled and what percentage of of material constitutes the landfill material. We found that over half of what is being thrown away as residential and commercial waste is readily recyclable or compostable. So, meaning it's a material that can already go into an existing recycling program, or it's a compostable material like food waste, yard waste, compostable papers, plastics. Um, just to touch on these other categories, like readily recyclable, that's our paper, cardboard, 1 and 2 plastic containers, the stuff we all know is recyclable. Compostable, I told you about, it's the yard waste, food waste, a little bit of paper and plastic that is compostable. If it's variable recyclability, so that green section in the top, that means it may or may not be recycled where you live or in your specific program. So that's going to be things like household hazardous waste, some plastic films, plastics number like 3 through 7. So that's going to include like your yogurt tubs, things like that. Not always accepted. If it's an orange material, that's the minimal access or specialty recycling. So that's going to be stuff that maybe you have to drop off. So that's going to look like tires or rubber, styrofoam, those kind of materials are captured there. And if it's just not recyclable and does belong in the landfill, that's that 10% category there. So that's going to be like broken glass, papers that can't be recycled, and just general trash. If we were to capture everything in those blue categories, sorry, if we were to capture everything that is readily recyclable, um, and get it to a sorting facility and have it baled and ready to ship to a manufacturer ready to remake, that material is worth about $10 million a year at today's recycling market value. So there's a really good opportunity for the county here to generate some good economic value with this plan as well. So we have one more image here to help uncover what's in what we're throwing away, right? So this is showing you each of those specific materials by weight. So as Whitney sort of preface lined up for us, the greatest material that we're throwing away by weight is wasted food. So that's food that can be, potentially rescued, meaning it can become meals for folks in the community, or it could be composted, so diverted to a better use than just than the landfill. And so we've also broken down where these tons are most likely to come from. So the green section is the tonnage most likely to be from commercial sources, restaurants, schools, hospitals, that type of thing. And then residential sources, we've broken down based on the housing, the housing split in the county. So which portion is most likely to be from single family homes versus multifamily homes. That's to help us as we plan, understand where we want to target these recovery efforts, where we want to target education, so we can get this valuable material out of the landfill. Um, Wasted food alone was over 180,000 tons in 2024. So it's a really great opportunity to focus there. Right behind that, we have plastic films, corrugated cardboard, and compostable paper, and so on.
Great, thank you, Caitlin. Appreciate all of that information. Next, we have another poll. What new or improved service would you like to have? And there are different options that you can check all that apply.
Okay, we'll give it another couple seconds. It looks like household electronic equipment collections got about 70%, followed by household hazardous waste, and hard to recycle or bulky items.
Thank you. Okay, as I mentioned at the beginning of this, we are reaching out to the communities. We really would like to hear from residents, from businesses as well. So this is just a little bit of the stakeholder engagement and outreach that we're planning as we're going through this plan development. So we have developed just a basic informational flyer here. That will be available on our website, and the QR code in the right corner is leading to our website where we will continue to place information as it becomes available or developed. So we have had a couple town halls over the last couple days. We had one in Southfield on Monday evening, Orion Township last night, and then we're doing the virtual town hall right now, and that will be again posted on our website after the meeting. A few other things that we're planning to hold some focus group meetings in the early part of next year. We also plan to do some presentations to groups, the township supervisors, the mayor's groups, and there probably will be some more of those as well. We're planning to create some displays to have at municipal buildings, including libraries, schools, and maybe the other civic centers or community centers in the communities. We are working with another consultant that is working with RRS, and we're going to be conducting a SOAR analysis here over the next month or two. So strengths, opportunities, aspirations, and results. And then there will hopefully be other opportunities in 2026 as we're moving along in this process. Hopefully all of you have seen and participated in our resident online survey that's been sent out. I'm going to go over some of the results we've received thus far in a couple more slides. I believe we've received over 1,000 surveys thus far, which is good, but we'd certainly like to have a lot more. We have an elected officials and municipal staff survey that we're just kind of fine tuning right now, and that will be going out soon, trying to get feedback from that perspective. And then next we'll be working on creating surveys for businesses and then also for restaurants as we move into next year. So this is the QR code for our resident survey. In case you have not taken it, you can use this. So you can see this was created on December 4th. We had 804 responses. So the next few slides are based on that. But as I mentioned, we're now up over 1,000 responses. So what city, village, or township do you live in? There's a good mix. I think we're getting semi-close now to having responses, at least a couple from each of the municipalities within the county. You can see down there at the bottom, Waterford Township, as of the time of this pulling this information, Waterford Township had submitted the most surveys. So again, we'd like it to be across the board, so we're hoping that we can get participation from all over the county. What type of home do you live in? Primarily, it's single-family homes. We do also have it into condominiums, apartments, manufactured or mobile homes, and then townhomes or duplexes. Obviously, there are different collection mechanisms for the different types of housing that people live in. So we really would like to get a good section of all of those categories of housing represented. Of the following options, what has challenged or discouraged you from recycling ordinary items? So the top one at this point in time was, I'm not sure what can or can't be recycled, which is good information to let us know there needs to be more education about what the different recycling programs actually accept or not. Easier to throw things away. Hopefully that can change sometime in the future. But costs too much. It's not offered where I live, or I don't have time. And this one, it says I do not recycle because, and if you look at the bottom, says, I think it all ends up in the landfill anyway. So again, education and awareness about this. I showed you those facility pictures for the material recovery facility. So we do know that they certainly do get recycled unless they're too contaminated. And what items do you wish were easier to recycle? I think these are right in line with what was mentioned during our poll: styrofoam, plastic bags, batteries, electronics, paint, and motor oil. And what new or improved services would you like to have? The top vote getter on this one is the hard to recycle or bulky items: mattresses, appliances, textiles, foam, bikes, etc. Household hazardous waste is next, and then the electronic waste. Most of the communities in Oakland County do offer some level of household hazardous waste program for their residents, but there are some that are frequently offered, but then there are some that are a couple days a year, 1 day a year, 4 day a year. So it isn't the easiest to participate in those. We understand that. So now how can residents help? We ask that you keep up to date by visiting our website. Again, there it is, oakgov.info/MMP. We do have a materials management planning committee who is assisting in developing the plan and discussing all of these different topics. The information and the dates that the links that will be available for the agendas will be available on our website. So if you see anything on there that is a topic of interest to you, please attend the meeting. If you have not already done so, please respond to our resident survey and spread the word to others who might not have received information about that survey at this point. Participate in public engagement opportunities when they're available. And then as we have the draft plan developed sometime next year, we will be having a public review period and a public hearing. So please review the plan at that time, the draft plan, and make comments and give your feedback at that time. This is our loose timeline of this process. It is a long process, but as you can see, we're going through most of next year. We'll be having the plan developed, and then that will be during that review period will be sometime next year as well. And then adopting late next year, and then hoping to implement whatever strategies or ideas that we get into this plan, our goals and objectives in 2027 and after that. So that is the end of the presentation. This is my contact information. If you have questions you think of after this meeting ends and you'd like to get in touch with me, please feel free to do so. I think we're gonna open it up. Kristen's going to facilitate some questions, but I really appreciate all of you being here and listening to this. And I'm gonna stop sharing my screen now.
Yep, I just have one question that was sent in. It was, are there any additional resources for ways to identify recycling products, where to recycle them, that you can think of?
I do know that if you go on, I mentioned the two solid waste authorities. So there is SOCRA, SOCRRA, and ROSOC. On their websites, they have what's called a waste wizard, and you can put in a product and it will give you information about that product. A lot of that will be particular to their communities, and those services might be only available to their community, but it may also list other opportunities or guidance on those, or different businesses that might accept materials outside of their specific collections. So I would say those. I know that a lot of communities do have some level of local resource page on their website, so you might want to check that as well. Hopefully, as we're moving on in this process, that having an inventory of all of these types of facilities that take different one-off materials, or if they take a lot of materials, we'll be able to have some sort of guide or resource on that. So I'm hopeful, and I believe that that's something that will definitely come out of this process. But I would also say that if you have specific questions, you can always email me. I receive quite a few of those, a lot, and I'll do my best to provide whatever I can to you.
All right, another question is, can you talk a little bit more about the municipal approval process?
Sure. So when we have our draft plan, it will be approved by our Materials Management Planning Committee, who's involved in the creation of the plan also, and then through our Board of Commissioners, and then the public review period. And so it will need to go be approved by the municipalities via resolution. So I am assuming, as we're getting to that part, maybe we will be attending some of those. Maybe we'll be doing a webinar where we can hopefully get a lot of the communities on board to highlight what the goals and objectives are, and to answer any questions that the municipalities have. So is that a thorough enough answer to that question?
Sounds good. That's all that I have in the chat. If anybody wants to unmute themselves and ask a question, please feel free to do so. All
No?
right, I'm not seeing anything, Whitney.
Okay. All right. Well, once again, I really appreciate your time and attention and listening to this. And again, please feel free to contact me if you have additional questions, you think of something later, or you have some ideas. Please feel free. Please take our resident survey. If you're from a municipality, please watch out for the elected official and municipality staff survey to be coming in the near future. And again, we really appreciate your time today, and hope you all have a great day and great holidays. So.